Happy July 1st. Happy Canada Day. Happy early 4th of July Day. This is Frankly Hockey on Victory Plus, YouTube and X. Thank you so much for being with us all season long, and especially today, Frank. It's the free agent special, maybe contract extensions, maybe trades. A lot could go on today. What are you feeling at this moment at 11:31 Eastern Time?
Scatterbrained, I think, is one way to approach it. Like I've got all these lines in the water on free agent signings, which obviously will be coming by the barrel load in 28 and a half minutes time from now. But It's also the unknown. What else is happening out there? Some extensions. Ivan Demidov, for instance, is a guy that we haven't talked a lot about. He's eligible to sign an extension today because he's 1 year out. So there's that. There's the Zach Werenski trade, Connor Hellebuyck. Will Jason Robertson now resign now that the Dallas Stars have unloaded Ilya Lyubushkin and Maverick Bourque? I mean, there's so many things happening today. Anyone who thought that July 1, 2026, Craig Button called the free agent class today, meh. Well, it's not necessarily just about the free agents. It's about all 32 teams trying to get better today. That's what makes today awesome.
Maybe a meh day in that category, but overall, not at all in totality. I got my chai tea. I got my cinnamon spice oatmeal, one of my favorite things of all time since college. So of course, I left my phone downstairs, so I may have to leave in a sec because I need that thing.
You had one job.
I know, I had one job. I thought I left my light charger in Buffalo, and it was right at my feet the whole time. But I learned the new iPhone charger works in this light. I didn't know that. Huh. I guess that's some sort of universal type of input. All right. It's Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. Anything right now, Frank, that you have cooking? I know there'll be times you'll be looking down, you'll be spacing out a little bit, and I understand that. But kind of where are we now? And I'm going to go get my phone while you do that. Go.
Okay. All right, so I'll talk. The first order of business right now is Radko Gudas is signing with the Florida Panthers, and that deal is 6 years by $1.5 million. So Radko Gudas goes long-term, and interestingly enough, for Radko Gudas in Florida, I think he might not be their only long-term signing today.
Okay.
I was told that they have another long-term signing that they're working on. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition or not in free agency, but the Panthers are trying to take this, spread it out over a long period of time. So Radko Gudas 6 times 1.5 in South Florida. And man, you look and you go, okay, well, even if he plays 3 years of that at 1.5, what a bargain. Then figure out what happens on the back end of it. Structure it in a way in which you can buy it out and everyone wins. There's a lot going on here today. So will other teams try to go long-term? That's what the Carolina Hurricanes are trying to do with John Carlson. They put together, I think, 3 or 4 different proposals somewhere along the lines of 3 years, 4 years. I think there might have even been a 6-year option. And the question was, how much can we load this contract to get all of the dollars coming out in the first 2, 3, or 4 years? That's been an approach, but we're now 25 minutes away from John Carlson hitting the market, and you can hear from other teams. Is it just as easy to take the 2 times 10 somewhere else and not really have to think about that? You've gotten this far. You played out your whole year. You got traded from the only team you've ever known. You're 25 minutes away from being able to pick your place. Is Carolina absolutely the place for John Carlson? So they're grinding on that at this exact moment in time as well.
Okay, so Gudas signs in Florida, looks like 6 years. Luosterainen, a big deal, looks like as well, Frank, a big extension for him. So yeah, the Panthers doing some work today. We mentioned the goalie work they did yesterday. Hey, Shea Weber's 14-year contract is officially off the books now. Remember the Flyers offer sheet in 2012?
Oh, I remember.
You should know because you were there.
I was on another planet when that thing came down at 1 or 2 in the morning one night. It was super late.
So Bobby Bonilla keeps getting paid, but no more for Shea Weber. That finally ends. Byram, looks like Bo Byram has an extension, Frank. He's going to wear number 24 in Chicago.
Yep, 6 times $12.5 million. And everyone today has been up in arms, like, whoa, $12.5 million for Bowen Byram. He's now the new AAV leader among defensemen, at least for the minute for next season. Obviously, Cale Makar will pass him, Quinn Hughes will pass him, etc. But then you see the new extension coming down in Buffalo for Olin Zellweger, 3 times $9 million. And all of a sudden, 3 times 9 is a little bit different than 6 times 12.5, a bit more of a proven commodity. So I think there's probably the story of today, Butchie, is going to be some sticker shock, right? Eventually, Simone Nemeth will sign a deal in Calgary, whether it's long-term or a bridge deal. If it's long-term, like, be prepared for Simone Nemeth to hit $8 million. I mean, it's just the market is changing drastically, and players want to make sure that if I'm willing to commit the term, that 3 years into it, it's not going to look like an absolute bargain home run, because if not, I'll just take the shorter term deal.
So good as 6 years times 1.5. That's an interesting Panther contract. What comes out to $9 million in the end. So whether it's 3 times 3 or 6 times 1.5, Gudis in Florida. Predators got Maverick Bourque. Is this you mentioned? They also took Lyubushkin's contract. Second and third go to Dallas. Mm-hmm. Salary cap, of course, going up from 95.5 to 104 this year. That's why you mentioned the sticker shock. There's the trade there. So Bourque, is this a clear cap move to get Robertson underneath it?
That's how I see it. First off, Maverick Bourque was an offer sheet threat. We talked about the machinations of what that offer sheet might look like, and you didn't really have to try very hard to find something that Dallas would be uncomfortable with. Something in that 4.7, 4.8 range a year. Even though Bourque is scoring 20 goals a year, they couldn't afford to pay Maverick Bourque that number. So the threat is, hey, we're going to make the offer sheet. So with that, the Stars are in a position to go, well, if we're going to entertain that, we might as well move on. The second round pick would have been the return. And I actually think that they did relatively decent business. By the way, at that range, 4.7, 4.8, that second round pick would have been the compensation. So they get a second and a third, and they get off of Lyubushkin at the same exact time, which they were trying to do and really wanted to avoid a buyout. Ends up being pretty smart business for them. So those two off the books. Now, the table is clearly set for Robertson to go to Dallas at $14 million. They can afford it. The path is clear. It's possible. The question is Dallas comfortable, which to this point they have not been, is Dallas comfortable making Jason Robertson their highest paid player? That's the real question. We've got a cap formula. This is how we want to structure our team. Mikko Rantanen's the high water mark, and everyone else needs to get in line underneath of him. This might just be the new market economics and reality that the Dallas Stars need to wrestle with in order to maintain their competitive posture. So they tried, obviously, on the trade front. They tried on the Werenski trade front to reshape things. This seems to me to be the next best play. You've said goodbye to Maverick Bourque. You've cleared the space with Lyubushkin. There's a path to get Robertson done.
Obviously, this is a free-flowing show, folks, up until 12 noon. Will Columbus act quickly today, try to get a deal done, and maybe they can do other business? That is kind of part of it, right, Frank? They're a little connected. I know there's not big fish out there, and they're not really a cap. They don't have to worry about the cap that much. Or is Werenski a deal mutually exclusive from anything else? They can just kind of wait on that deal. They don't have to rush to do business.
I think it's exclusive from anything else and probably should be. Look, this is franchise altering for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So you've got to nail this. You've got to get it right. But the tough part for them is, I think no matter what, their fan base is going to feel a little bit scorned and wanting for more. Because the way that this situation has devolved and turned sour is the Werenski camp has now knuckled down and basically said it's pretty much one team in Tampa. Toronto, as I see it and understand it, is a potential option, would be an acceptable choice should the right deal materialize. But even then, it feels more like a 1 and a distant 2 in terms of Tampa and Toronto, in terms of how Zach Werenski, as I understand it, has approached it internally. So what happens next? Everyone has looked at Tampa's roster and said, hey, there's not a ton here to trade. And I think that part is lost on the public in terms of how they view this, which is, let's say you're in Zach Werenski's shoes or any player who's asked for a trade. If you are directing yourself to one team, you don't want them to give up a lot for you because you're going there to win. You want them to give up at the least amount possible off of their roster. And that's where your leverage comes in. And so that's part of what they've been wrestling with. That's what Columbus is wrestling with now. Do we just do this and rip the Band-Aid off? Because if not, this is going to be a very dramatic year. And I think they've toyed with the notion of, hey, we'll just bring Zach Werenski back for another year. Okay, what? And then trade him a year from now when he's 1 year out from unrestricted free agency? No one's going to trade for him at that point without an extension in place. So his situation is further solidified in terms of leverage. It's a really uncomfortable situation for the Columbus Blue Jackets today. And I think part of the frustration has been, like, people have asked the question, well, how do we get here? How did Zach Werenski go from a 0 to an 11 in terms of this frustration buildup? I'll tell you what sent them over the edge this week was the Columbus Blue Jackets pretending like this was a complete shock. This had, as I mentioned before, you can either operate and be proactive or you can manage with your head in the sand. And this situation has been simmering for months. The fact that it got out and became public last week, in part with what we started talking about and putting Zach Werenski and Kirill Marchenko on our trade board, these things were not new. So for Rick Bowness and the Blue Jackets to act so disingenuously the last couple of days and week, that's really part of what has rubbed them the wrong way, that they've sort of taken this attack of trying to sewer Zach Werenski publicly.
Well, these players want their cake and eat it too. Some of the agents are acting with impunity in my mind, going out and trying to formulate these trades. These guys are going to sullen. They're going to stain what they did at the Olympics. Larkin will get booed every time he goes to Detroit. Werenski will get booed every time he goes to Columbus. It's a bad look. It's not good, and it stinks. I just want to get that off my chest. Happy birthday,
okay.
Drew.
I mean,
McGinley,
look, we know that you're a big Columbus defender, and I get it. You're an Ohio guy.
I'm defending Detroit too. I'm defending Detroit. The guys didn't read the room. It was. They wait a year. I don't know, but it's a terrible look. They'll never be remembered like Mike Eruzione in 1980. Maybe Jack Hughes until he plays for Minnesota. I don't know.
And this Rasmus Andersson deal, not to change the subject, we'll continue talking about Werenski, but I missed this a little bit ago. Puckpedia had the report of 7 years times 8.5. So Rasmus Andersson does get his big ticket in Vegas after that significant trade at the deadline last year.
4 less than Byram. Woo. That's a good deal for Vegas, right? They're close enough as a player.
I don't think so. I don't even think they're in the same category. I think Rasmus Andersson is a 4 in today's NHL, but that's just me. So the other thing with Werenski is, like you mentioned, like, hey, there's a lot of agent activity here. Players are finding their voice and all that. I mean, again, the truth is that, again, not a secret that we're in a situation where Zach Werenski wasn't going to resign. Like, you didn't need to have a crystal ball to foresee that as a long-term possibility if you're the Blue Jackets.
It's true with anybody.
That's all.
True with any player. True with David Pastrnak. Yeah. True with anybody. Right.
No, but David Pasternak's not leaving Boston. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
he might. What if he's a year out? He might say, "I'm not going to sign an extension." The Bruins might stink then, or they might be going on a downward or mediocre, and he hasn't won a cup yet. Like, it can happen with any team. I don't think we should, kind of scar Columbus just because it's Columbus.
They haven't done anything in 26 years. Like, it's a totally different situation than Boston. Since David Pastrnak has gone to Boston, they've played in the Stanley Cup final.
4 straight years Columbus has improved. They're going like this. They got to 92 points this year. Why not 100 points this year? Why not lead the team to 100 points in the playoff? You're going up. You're not going down. It's an ascending thing.
Well, now they're clearly going down.
Right, because of a couple of players, right, they're because of what they're doing. Obviously, they're the best players on the team. The 2 best. You take any 2 best players off the team, and they'll go down. Any 2 teams in the league, the 2 best players, they will go down. Not, whether it's Toronto, Columbus, Las Vegas, or Florida. Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, I'm not going to play this year. They won't. Look what happened last year when you took their 2 best players, Tkachuk and Barkov, off the team. They didn't make the playoffs. Same with any team, and.
Okay, here's an update. Fresh, 13 minutes to go. The Carolina Hurricanes still on the clock with John Carlson. Not dead yet, but down to
I'm not dead yet. I want to go
not
for a
dead
walk.
yet. They're trying. Carolina still on the clock is a text that I just received. All
right. So we mentioned Nick Robertson goes to Pittsburgh. There were some Jason Robertson to Pittsburgh whispers the last couple of days, but Nick, 4th-round pick. Dan Vladar gets his official extension. Frank, you were talking about that, 5 times 5.5. That's a good number for the Flyers. That could be a good contract for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there wasn't really a huge rush to sign it, in my view, based on how well he played last year. I want to see him go do it again, but at $5.5 million, you're never really going to be hurt, because kind of the new normal for backups moving forward is the Kevin Lankinen deal, 6 times 4.5. So if you're able to be somewhere in that range and you think that Vladar will be your starter, that's key. Also, keep an eye on the Flyers and Claude Giroux, a potential reunion with their former captain. I know they were eagerly awaiting this morning news that Claude Giroux would be indeed going to market. I have a hard time squinting and seeing how exactly he makes their team better for a team that's already loaded with wingers, but man, he had a really good season and does not seem to be a guy that's slowing down at all at his age.
Aaron Portsline just tweeting, I wondered if Don Waddell might tap brakes and play his cards. Patience. Not so, Aaron tweets. He's moved on to other teams, hoping to quickly find a deal Werenski likes. And sounds
other
like Frank
teams, there's only, that's what I'm telling you. There's literally kind of one. So it's either
Toronto and Tampa. It looks like Toronto and Tampa is what Aaron says.
But I'm telling you, it's Tampa 1, and then a clear 2 is Toronto. And not saying he won't go to Toronto, just that the preference is very clearly Tampa.
Right. And that would be Moser going back to Columbus for sure. Maybe Connor Geekie. I don't know if they would try to get Columbus to take Nick Paul. He wasn't good last year. But, maybe he can be a third liner, perhaps. A little bit of guy can take faceoffs, do some things to low AAV long term, but maybe he could be part of the deal, maybe a future one. But it sounds like that's what it's gonna be, that kind of a deal to Tampa. Again, where will Sergei Bobrovsky be by dinner time tonight? Will he be on a new team, you think, by dinner time, Frank?
I don't know that it'll take that long. I feel
like
Sergei Bobrovsky might be able to eat at maybe some of the finest establishments in the greater Toronto area, because all eyes are on the Maple Leafs and Bobrovsky. We talked about this, was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, when that leak happened with the in-arena Scotiabank imaging of the promo graphics. This is a guy that's clearly been high on their list. The Leafs are reinventing their goaltending situation quite a bit. And I'm fascinated to see what the terms are, because we expect this to happen. But I wouldn't be scared to sign Sergei Bobrovsky to a deal that makes most people feel a little bit uncomfortable. I have known and seen Sergei Bobrovsky since before he made it to the NHL. This guy is a machine. He takes care of himself in the top 1% of any player in the league. He is so focused, so dedicated, and in such great shape. It's routine to see guys play goal into their 40s. Like Mike Smith did it. Like there's other guys that can do it.
Jacques Plante,
why not
Glenn Hall?
Forever. Marty Brodeur. I mean, all the time we see guys playing into their 40s. Why not a multi-time Vezina, multi-time Stanley Cup winner? To me, like it worked. Like I'm not afraid to give Sergei Bobrovsky at 37 a 4-year deal today. Like I wouldn't even hesitate or blink if that's what it required.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Jacques Plante played till he was 46 in the WHA. He won 15 games. He played for the Bruins when he was 44 and went 7-1 in 1973. So yeah, this is a position, and obviously now the way these guys train, and this guy's obviously a guy who wants to be in his prime. He's 37. Like I said, he's 7 years younger than Jacques Plante when he went 7-1 for the Bruins. So certainly he's got 3 probably good years in him. And it's surprising. It's a gamble by the Panthers. There's no doubt. They know what they have in him. It's a very seamless situation with his defensive core. They know him. They like him. They respect him. If he goes through a bad spell, they would be patient with him. Now you get a couple new goalies. That is going to be a little bit of adjustment period, maybe some discomfort. If a guy goes through a bad spell, you wonder, geez, is he ever going to have a good spell? We know we can kind of sense Sergei will come back. But so, yeah, I think the Panthers, a little bit of a gamble here, but we've seen them obviously act boldly, and that's not always just acquiring players. It's not signing players. It's making that decision on how to allocate your cap dollars, and that's what they've chosen to do here.
Well, here's the other part of it. There's comfort here for Sergei Bobrovsky. Like first and foremost, I appreciate a guy who puts like, hey, this is the value I have for myself. I'm not doing it for less. You want to give me a hometown discount in Florida? Brad Marchand, you were late to the party and you got your cake, you got your long-term deal to keep you. I've been just as big a part of this as anyone. Here's my number, not moving. That's 1. 2, Curtis McElhinney is their goalie guru in Toronto. Curtis McElhinney was his partner for 4 years as a backup in Columbus. Those two have a comfortability. Anthony Stolarz was his backup in Florida. He can play in tandem with Anthony Stolarz. So it checks all the boxes. Money, goalie coach, environment, backup. I mean, those are all things that matter if you're a goalie and you're picking in this game of goaltending musical chairs of where you're going to land. And first and foremost, it required the Leafs or a team like the Leafs to have the cap space in order to pull it off. I know we're talking about it like a fait accompli, but I do believe it's going to happen.
Again, Bo Byram, 6 years, $75 million. I wonder who didn't want to go 8. I wonder if it was him. I would have gone the whole 8 if I was him. I don't know.
It actually was him. I do know the answer to that. His initial ask was on a 4-year deal. So the Hawks stretched to get it to 6. And that's, of course, what drives up the AAV.
So once again, 7 minutes away. It's going to be a lot of news quickly. So we got to start stretching. We got to start stretching out here. Make sure we don't pull anything. John Buccigross, Frank Seravalli, welcome to Frankly Hockey Free Agent Special. If you're slowly logging on, we're on a little early today. Started at 11:30, as it's July 1st, 2026. Free agent signings, possible trades. Looks like Columbus is going to go forward and try to aggressively move Werenski as soon as possible. Also, contract extensions. We expect Hischier to extend today. Pretty much, it's probably already
here. Yeah, so Hischier has agreed to terms 5 times 11.7. But here's the Ivan Demidov one per his agent Dan Milstein. It is 8 years times $9.125 million. So it's a deal that obviously crosses the threshold of Lane Hudson and what he signed with Montreal, who I think they do a tremendous job of leveraging with the Slavkovsky contract and some others, having everyone understand, hey, you're buying RFA years for a big chunk of this deal. They cost a lot less than UFA deals. They've got their salary cap structure and they're able to get these guys a serious chunk of change in their pocket and then hit free agency still at a prime age in their career. The thought process in Montreal is that Demidov will become the Montreal Canadiens' best forward. And I know that sounds funny to say with Cole Caulfield scoring 50 and Nick Suzuki collecting 100 points. Ivan Demidov has that potential. And now for the next 9 years now, it's under $10 million. It's a great piece of business for the Montreal Canadiens.
Possibly. Yeah, we'll see. Didn't score in the playoffs, but again, 20 years old, 3 goals in 19 games. During the regular season, he had, what do you have? He had 19 goals, played all 82, 62 points. So yeah, they expect him and project him to keep moving up and maybe be that 35 goal, 55 point, 90 point kind of player. Certainly, I think that's a reasonable bet. So I think that's a like you said, and if he exceeds that and gets into Nature's land, which I think is very possible, suddenly he's making 8 years from now he's making 9 when people in his class will be making probably 16, 15, 16, and the superstars will be making 25. So that's a great piece of business. I don't know how these Montreal players keep taking this way below market. I know right now it's not at 20, but pretty good chance it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, you got to get in and you got to get as many years as you can. So like, think about, remember last year, everyone was like all up in arms with the Noah Dobson contract at $9.5 million. Like now you look at that and you go, $9.5 million. What's 9.5? Like, that's great. Under 10. Are you kidding me?
I know.
I mean, Zellweger, who's just kind of starting his career, gets 3 times 9.
It's changed so fast, Frank, from the flat cap COVID era thing. And now it's just really popped. It's really something. I don't think the game has ever seen this type of explosion of contracts. And I think a lot of GMs, especially the veterans, are having a hard time trying to do the math. Well, I guess he is. I guess 13 is the new 9, right? Like Byram, if he's a 9, like, when he was in Werenski's shoes, when Werenski signed his extension, he was not Zach Werenski yet. He wasn't scoring like this, like he did now. And that's what the Byron, people look at Byron and think that way. And he's thinking, no, I'm going to become Zach Werenski. And then that's right. That's a bet he's making. And Chicago.
Yeah. And everyone's up in arms about the 12.5. And I understand why, but he thinks he's a number 1 defenseman. The Hawks just gave up a package that they think he's a number 1 defenseman. If he's a number 1 defenseman, 12.5 is great. And if he's not, the trade return was already too much anyway. So whether you gave him an extra $1 million or $2 million to get the deal done, it's going to be irrelevant. It's either going to be all gravy or it's going to be all bad. That's kind of the situation that the Chicago Blackhawks find themselves in.
Yeah, Werenski's career high before 2 years ago was 57 points. Now he's got back-to-back 80, but that didn't happen until he was 27. So maybe Byron can become an 80-point guy. You never know. And then that's his contract. But
so just one more thing, because we did mention it, but this is an 8-year extension for Demidov. So he still has 1 more year left on his deal. So it's really it's 9 years. It doesn't kick in until 2027, 28. And when you average it out, obviously with 1 more year on his entry-level deal, it becomes way south of $9 million, and it is an absolute bargain.
Yeah, and then he'll be a UFA at 29, 30. So he's as long as he's healthy and a star, he'll do real well again then. But yeah, you can't pass up a guarantee $73 million, especially playing on a really good team who's going to help develop you. Some of it is not all about money. It's about personal experience. It's about being on a winning atmosphere. It's about being as best as you can and reaching your full potential as a hockey player and enjoying the experience. It's all that. It's it's achievement. It's enjoying the experience. It's friendships. And then if you get paid like this on top of it, that's a good life.
What's a better spot right now than Montreal when you look at their cap table and their youth?
Exactly.
They're as good or as well positioned as any team in the entire league.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here we are. We are approaching the noon hour.
Let's go.
11:59. We do a half-hour pregame show for you here, getting ready for this. Again, we expect all kinds of news. Some, again, the Heishier stuff and things like that. There'll be like you said, the Demidov signing was per the agent, Dan Milstein. So the team will send out a tweet soon, I'm sure, as well. So all this stuff will become official here as we hit the noon hour. And there it is. Ding dong. Yo, ding dong. Yo, it is 12 noon. Welcome.
You got anything in the holster?
They teach us this in television, Frank. Top of the hour, bottom of the hour, reintroduce the audience. We know it doesn't work that way here and with our folks because they've been with us the whole time. But again, if you are for some reason just clicking over at noon because that's what you normally do, welcome back to Frankly Hockey. I'm John Buccigross with Frank Seravalli, the Hockey Insider on Victory Plus, YouTube, and X. We're here for free agent signings, contract extensions, and trades. That's what we expect today, Wednesday, July 1st, 2026.
Yeah, and if you haven't got a chance to peep it yet, check out the tracker, the crawler that we have here at the bottom. We'll be updating
I like it.
with our top 50 free agents on the move today. Lots going to be happening. You're going to see deals rolling in. So let's go. Rasmus Anderson, we mentioned his extension. He does not make it to market. He is 7 times 8.5, the number 3 player off of our board to stay in Vegas.
Yeah, it looks like Demidov, big front-loaded contract, Frank. So even though the AAV might seem like pedestrian, we're going 11.5 signing bonus off the bat in the first couple of years. So he's going to really pocket most of this cash in the first 3 years. He's basically a $10 million player right away. When the old days, it would have been a bridge deal. Now he's really up there in the stratosphere where he can start to put his money away, invest it, all that, blah, blah, blah. You're better off taking it in a lump sum like they offer you with Mega Millions and Powerball. So we expect the information to slowly trickle out as it is 12 noon on the East. As Owen Zellweger, by the way, 3-year deal with Buffalo, 3.1. Certainly they hope he's the kind of guy who might be close to Bo Byram at a lot less money. So we'll see how he does. It's going to be fun. We mentioned Demidov, 8-year extension, 9.1. Entry-level deal this year, then it kicks in. Vladar is 5 years, 27.5. With the Flyers, after that great move by Daniel Briere and the Flyers, they brought him in, really basically helped get them to the postseason. It was maybe the move of the offseason last year, one of them, and now they ink him up 5 times 5.5. Mentioned the Rakto Gudis to the Panthers, Luosterainen, that such a key part of that third line, the Lundell, Luosterainen, Marchand line in their Stanley Cup playoff win a couple years ago when they made it back-to-back. That was a big, big part of their success. And so they have inked up Luosterainen as well.
Okay, I got one for you.
Good. Go.
Sources say the Los Angeles Kings are adding free agent center Erik Haula. So the Hall of Famer is going west to the Kings. Obviously, when you get to the center market, it gets relatively thin in a hurry. And so the Kings want to get ahead of that as best as possible. And, you think back to this situation, getting locked in makes a lot of sense. So Kings get some early business done, working on some terms for you for Erik Haula, but Erik Haula going to the LA Kings.
Good. That always enables me to quote, tweet, and put Missy Elliott. Holla! Which I always enjoy doing.
So good.
So there you go. That's out there. Missy Elliott, you're a part of our July 1st. Mario Ferraro, that's going to be an interesting one today, Frank. There's multiple teams. He's a burly, strong, great kid, great personality, former UMass Minutemen. So expect Ferraro to go somewhere. Chicken Parm. Speaking of Ferraro, not that one. That's Ray. But
well, the interesting thing about Mario Ferraro is he's about as young a free agent as you can be at 27. There are some guys that can make it at 26. Some guys can play the 7 years and be out. But Ferraro's on the young end of this, and with his compete level, and he is such a well-liked teammate. I don't know what the disconnect was in San Jose for a team that needs D. You would think that they'd be wanting to bring back one of their leaders, but I think in some ways maybe he just priced himself out. So excited to see where Mario Ferraro lands.
All right. Yeah, I mentioned today's Drew McGinley's 49th birthday, 11 overall, 1,554 games, obviously no cups, 625 goals. We hear these guys trying to get on winning teams, and he gave it a long go in Calgary, and he tried at the end, Frank, to find that team to help him raise us. It's hard. Not many great players haven't won a cup in the history of the NHL. 6 teams for so long made it easier, but they usually find it. It's rare. And you wonder now, though, in this era, with more teams, there'll be more guys who don't find that cup in the end than there used to be.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, look, Connor McDavid has shown us more than anyone. It is hard to win, and really hard to win in this league. It's only going to get harder if they add another team in a couple years in Austin or wherever that is, Houston, because this league it's challenged. And now we're seeing these sort of like powers grow, right? People are going to Florida. They want to go to Tampa, Minnesota, Vegas, like all these teams kind of become hotspots and maybe even some super teams.
Yeah. So there's the Hischier deal that the Devils tweet out. We mentioned 11.7 AAV, $58 million. That begins next season. He'll make 14-5, 14-5, 12-1, 8-7, 8-7. So Sonny Meta with some big order of business. He gets Hischier at 11.7, and the Devils keep that center. Just completed his 9th season with the Devils, 27 years old. Played all 82 last year. And so Hischier obviously extends in New Jersey. There was some talk about a Montreal trade or something down with him, but in the end, keep a good player. And you can see there, you want those kinds of guys. Good age, production is fine. And he's shown in the past he can produce even more. So the former number 1 overall draft pick to remain in New Jersey.
Let's see what else we got cooking here. There's a lot happening. I was told, and I can't say the name who I was told, but I was told Florida has an 8-year deal coming down the pike for someone as a free agent. Love to confirm that. It just gets me excited thinking about what that looks like. I think 7 is the max, but
not the Luosterainen one.
I don't know.
Maybe. They meant that. Yeah, that's an 8-year extension.
The person I was talking to was in Europe, so
gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
Chris Johnson,
their phone was cracking up at the time.
Chris Johnson says maybe Trevor Van Riemsdyk to the Penguins. Looks like he's going to head there. The right-handed shot. They're kind of reconfiguring their defense there. They had last year. They made the trade. Wotherspoon, who was pretty good for them. Traded him to Vegas for Korzak. Now they bring in Van Riemsdyk, the right-handed shot defenseman, in Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh continues to of course, Trevor's a good skater, and obviously the Penguins are a good skating team. It's a good fit.
Yeah,
so you got 2 years after 3.5 for Haula.
Yeah, 2 times 3.5 for Eric Haula. And after losing Parker Wotherspoon, people were upset about that. They added Caden Korzak. Trevor Van Riemsdyk makes sense. Curious to see where his brother James goes today. Also an unrestricted free agent today. The first time both of them have hit the market. And I believe they're vacationing together in Sicily at the moment. So enjoying some Southern Italian cuisine. But one signed, where will the other go?
Interesting, Matt Zuccarello moving on. Such a great connection with Kirill Kaprizov, who obviously begins to make his gigantic contract now. That wasn't last year, but the highest paid player in the game this year, unless something strange happens. He'll have that for about a year. So we'll see where Matt Zuccarello might end up. Again, if you missed it, Maverick Bourque, Ilya Lyubushkin to Nashville. We mentioned Chris McFarland, very aggressive, really reimagining this team quickly in Nashville. Really good depth up and down the lineup now. If you're a Nashville fan, you're going to be pretty excited. The energy that McFarland has brought to that organization, coaching staff still intact. So Andrew Brunette, and I don't think anybody thought he'd still be the coach by now, Frank. But I think he's going to be happy. This is more his kind of team, I think. Some dynamic young players. Bruno's good at unlocking offense. And now I think it's a little bit, and now we'll see. Do you think they'll try to move Marchessault or Stamkos or O'Reilly now that McFarland, I know there was maybe some wink things with Barry Trotz, but do you think he'll go even farther here trying to reimagine these Preds?
I mean, the biggest name that stands out to me is Roman Josi. How much interest does he have in sticking around, moving on? What's the plan? Rob Blake in the fold as the assistant to the general manager. How does this work? It's one of those situations where I can look at the Nashville Predators roster today and say that they're definitely a lot deeper than they were. I don't know how much overall better the team is, but perhaps with some more support, they're in a spot where they can begin to climb up the standings here and get back in the mix in the West.
Yeah, obviously they still have Staros in net, a guy that they gave a lot of money to. But Stamkos, O'Reilly, Evangelista, Wood, Marchessault, Forsberg, Colton, Bork, Höglander. Pretty cool little third line. You got Drury, and the fourth line center, who they recently signed. And again, some other young players. You have Shea, Yossi, Haig, Perbix. Now they have Lyubushkin, who can play 6-7. Adam Wilsby's there. So there's some stuff there. So I just wonder, yes, 6-7. So we'll see what Chris in Nashville might do today. Will they add a free agent piece? Obviously not great stuff out there, but again, for a team like them, just trying to get a little bit better at a time.
One of my other favorite storylines today, and obviously it's not news, but with Kirill Kaprizov's extension kicking in today, Michael Russo says, big day for Kirill Kaprizov. His bank account just got $18.1 million richer. The first of an 8-figure signing bonus until July 1, 2033. So 18.1 million sheets today. Just airdropped into your bank account.
So they get their bonuses July 1. Is that how that works?
Not everyone. Every contract is structured differently. Some teams want to pay them in September. Some teams want to pay them in August. Some teams like paying them July 1st at the start of the new league year. Some are on October 1st. Some are spread out into December. For a signing bonus, it might be paid in 4 installments over the course of a year. Every contract is unique. Some teams have different asks based on how they run their business ops and their budgeting and their cash flow. But the large majority of them are literally inducements to sign on July 1 and go down on July 1 and are deposited today. So some guys they're waking up. They're feeling a lot better today than they did yesterday.
Yeah, it's an $18.1 million signing bonus, a $1 million salary. So he'll get paid every 2 weeks during the regular season. About 11 grand every 2 weeks. Chump tip money for him after he'll make 18. So he'll basically make $19.1 million for the next 4 years. Then it goes down to 17, signing bonus in 16. The salary is $1 million every year. That's his paycheck during the season. But as Frank mentioned, he'll get that signing bonus, however they have it structured, before the season, 18, 18, 18, 18, 16, 14, 12.7, 12.7.
Mm-hmm.
Kirill Kaprizov. And again, the salary cap increasing to 104 from 95.5. That's an 8.9% year over increase, fourth largest since the cap was first introduced in 05-06, and the largest since it went up 12.7. Also comes 1 year after the league cap increased by 8.5. Remember, it was 88 to 95.5 to 95.5 to 104.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Frank, the most a team can. How many years are we still? The max is now 7, right? For a new team, 6 with your own. 6 for a new team, 7 with your own team. Is that?
That's a great question. I was thinking about that.
So much confusion. Is it September 15th or is it today?
No, so September 15th is when the new contract rules are put in place, but I think you had to be on a team's reserve list prior to June 30 in order to make that happen, or actually prior to the trade deadline, because that's why we had the sign and trade to get the 8th year for Alex Tuch. It wasn't just trade and then he'll sign on July 1 or right before then. That's how you had to do it first, contract first, then trade in order to get the 8th year. So I'm pretty sure the max that UFAs today can get is 7. I should know the answer to that. I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
I know it's so much confusion going back and forth, but yeah. So again, 12:15 here as July 1st has arrived upon us. Waiting to hear some of these signings and free agent signings and trades, and what has been the tampering temperature? Has the league really, was there more of it recently, Frank? Has the league really worked on that?
Well, look, I mean, let's be fair. There was no shortage of tampering this year, and I say that like understanding what's coming out of my mouth. But what I'll say is I got the sense that teams were definitely more cautious about it this year. They have definitely been more diligent. They've mentioned that. And they wanted to try and put themselves in a position where it just isn't even really a question. Like I was calling around asking some questions this morning and last night, and hey, heard this guy's going here, heard this guy's going there, and some of the responses I got were just like, that's tampering, Frank. We don't do that, and that's why it was kind of refreshing to see the reaction around the league when John Carlson got traded to the Canes, because they just kind of do things by the book, and they were not one of the teams that everyone thought John Carlson was going to. And so obviously now he hits the market and has the ability to talk to other teams. It kind of caught people by surprise because, going back to the combine, when you put agents, general managers, and all your staff from your front office in one city for a period of time, like a week, you're going to have conversations about a million things. And so there's no real way to stop it, but the league is, I think someone in the league office has got the hammer out and they're ready to drill someone if it becomes abundantly obvious. So we'll see what happens.
Mackie Samoskevich, 3-year deal, 3.85 with Seattle. This will be his chance to be productive and get even a bigger payday next time around. The fourth period says Colton Sissons to Toronto. It was the Maple Leafs and that new regime working on constructing that roster. And see how they do it, of course, and if they're in on Werenski or if he does indeed end up in Tampa Bay, which seems like that's the place. So again, Holla
feels
to
like
LA,
it to me.
Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
I know something. You surprised he nixed the Dallas? He would have gotten a raise with the income tax free. It's a very good team. Obviously, Stanley Cup contender. I mean, East and South. I would think Northeast. The plane flight from Detroit to Dallas and to Tampa Bay is not a big difference. It's not that big a difference. Surprised at all? He said no to Dallas.
Look, I think a lot of things have been surprising involving the Dallas Stars this offseason. I think everyone was surprised that Jason Robertson said no to $125 million in Seattle. And they've now essentially had 3 trades scuttled. And the reaction, so how is it 3? It's Robertson to Seattle, then Nyes and the 7 swap with Toronto, and then now this one for Werenski. And a couple players were asking me last night, like, since when did Dallas become a place that people don't want to go to? I think there was a lot in play with Werenski. I do think that there was some frustration. I don't think this was a knee-jerk reaction of, hey, you're trying to trade me when we're not happy with you, and I'm going to say no just for no's sake. I think part of it is that the Werenski camp wasn't brought into it from the beginning. And I think the other thing is Werenski had made it pretty clear from the start that he did not want to go to the Western Conference. That was not part of his plan. So it was like anywhere but West. And then they started to hone in on some other ones. And that's how they've arrived at the spot that they're at now.
Emily Kaplan, a couple out there, Zuccarello to the Kings. Look.
Did our guy Butchie freeze here? We got a frozen Butchie?
And
you back?
I guess maybe. What's
There's
that?
Butchie. You back? You froze up for a minute.
I did. Oh yeah, is that me? I got boosters in this new renovated house. I should not have any Wi-Fi issues. This is.
You got to go hardline Ethernet on days like today.
I know, you're right. I got to learn how to do that if I'm back. If I'm back, I'm a free agent as well. I mean, I'm a UFA too, so step up.
Whoa.
Hard negotiations, Seravalli.
All right. We'll see what we can do.
Bring your boots.
Zuccarello is an interesting fit in LA. Did he?
Well, him and Panarin, right? I like that because,
Yep.
although Panarin's a righty, the lefty to the one-time Kaprizov worked better, I thought. Him being a lefty, them both being lefties, because he could feed Zuccarello or he could feed Kaprizov. But I guess he can just do it off the other wall as well. He can adjust. So, yeah, I think that's what they're looking at. They're looking at some possible, the same thing he had with Kaprizov, have with Panarin. I mentioned Victor Arvidsson really bounced back last year with a 25-goal season. It was his best year in a while. 54 points, really a good year, plus 20, tied a career high. So maybe Stevie Y is, and again, that's a kind of one of those little pugnacious guys. They had so many of those big winged vanilla guys in Detroit that just didn't really move the needle. And they need more ballers. So we'll see if that happens. And again, Sissons and the Maple Leafs talking. And what about Dylan Larkin? What's the DNA of that trade? Is it something that's kind of sitting there? Do people need to do stuff first? That's a tough one.
I'm alive.
You're back. You're so back.
I don't know what happened. My whole browser just completely shut down. Anyway,
Yeah, thought it was me.
Yeah. So what I was trying to figure out and look up at the time. Did Lavi and Zuccarello cross paths in New York, or is that just Panarin and? Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think so. I think that was Zook had already been gone. Yeah, Zook was last with the Rangers in 2018, so he would have missed. He had Alain Vigneault was his last coach as a Ranger. Actually, David Quinn was his last coach before he got traded to Dallas there in the 2019 season, and then signed with Minnesota. And was there for the last 7 years. Had some really good years. Basically, a point per game guy. Right, or so it was Zuccarello. Obviously, Kaprizov and the talent he played with helped that, but still very impressive. 12:23 Eastern time now. So,
So I'm just nailing this down, but it sounds like the Detroit Red Wings are closing in on Victor Arvidsson. So just working on some details. Sounds like a 2-year deal. Trying to get that over the finish line, but that is the latest.
Yeah, again, 25 goals last year. Good year in Boston. We'll see if he can continue that on. Aaron Portzline tweeting that maybe the Blue Jackets consider Oliver Bjorkstrand, who started his career in Columbus, traded to Seattle in a salary dump after they signed Gaudreau unexpectedly. So he was a good player in Columbus. Spends his off seasons in Cleveland. Loves his time in Columbus, says Aaron. So maybe Bjorkstrand will return. He can like Arvidsson did last year, maybe revitalize his career a little bit.
Be an interesting fit.
He was a really good player for them, obviously, and I'm sure he liked it in Columbus. Very, very good years. And for the Blue Jackets, 23 goals, 21 goals. He had 28 goals. And then obviously they signed Gaudreau out of nowhere, so he goes to Seattle. Back-to-back 20-goal seasons for them, too. And then Tampa Bay was hoping he could help them, but just didn't quite pop. He's 30 years old now, so he's still got some time. 704 NHL games for Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Oh, man. It's a little bit, I don't know if it's slower than I expected, but it's been interesting. I think part of it is that tampering situation that we talked about. No one really wants to bomb out the deal at 12:01,
Yeah.
12:03 and be like, oh yeah, like how'd you come to that conclusion so quickly? But a reminder to people that you can verbally agree to terms and get a deal on paper a couple hours later. It doesn't really take that long.
Yeah, again, John Carlson's another guy we're really interested in. You've been talking about the past week here. I know, the state of Florida is very appealing to him. I can tell you that. And that obviously means maybe Tampa Bay. So is Tampa Bay going to wait here? Is it Werenski or Carlson? They can't, or can they do both if they move enough back? Like I said, if it's Moser and if it's, if it's Paul and if it's a roster guy, maybe that'll almost equal Werenski, and then they could still do John Carlson. Like obviously Bjorkstrand's off the books and other players off the books, so maybe they could do both. Because obviously their defense is where they need to bolster, Frank. If they want to get back to Stanley Cup contention, it just hasn't been good enough, especially with Victor Hedman in and out of the lineup. Ryan McDonough, a little bit older. Chernak, occasionally injured. And then after that, now they lose Radish. And so they will have to, you mentioned, a Werenski trade I would think would take off a couple roster guys. So you wonder if they would bring them both in. And again, they could easily fit. One's righty, one's lefty. And I'm not sure how they would do the pairings. Usually like Chernak and McDonough. If Hedman's coming back, then is that too many? Do they know anything about it?
It is for me. I don't know how you could. To me, it's one or the other. And it might they might end up with nothing as a result of that. Like, I don't know how you could possibly do that. Last time I checked, there's only 60 minutes and one puck. And unless they start playing with two pucks for these guys to operate in quarterback power plays, like I just don't get it.
Scotty Upshall tweets that Jaden Schwartz heading to Colorado on a 3-year deal. Obviously a Stanley Cup champion. Again, I think this is just part of that thing, Frank, the Nichushkin trade, just get some new blood, some new hunger, some new vibes, right? Just different guys. You get to learn to know them. That's good for team building. When it's the same guys year after year, it's like, well, I already know that dude. And we don't have to go do this or go do this. So I think that's what Joe Sakic is trying to do. Just a little different blood here. Get some hungry dudes, and I get everyone excited because you got to be all in this sport and excited to go to work, be at work. So Eric Gustafsson maybe with the Kings.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but that power play in LA, Zuccarello, Kempe, Panarin, Fiala, they're starting to get, we mentioned how they want to change the offense, right, Frank? They've been a goal suppression, kind of a boring team that loses to Edmonton every year in the first round of the playoffs. And a little bit different now. They're starting to get some offensive guys under their new head coach.
How many times has Eric Gustafsson played for Peter Laviolette?
I don't know, man.
There's
always a
guy. It's got
guy.
to be 3. This has got to be 3.
Always a guy.
Yeah.
So 12:28 now. Again, Maverick Bourque, a Predator. Nick Robertson, a Penguin. Samoskevich signs in Seattle. Byram signs with Chicago, obviously, as expected after that big trade. The 4th overall pick. Dean Letourneau is lighting up the Bruins development camp. The big 6'7" Boston College center who was a first rounder out of nowhere for the Bruins. His development is really accelerating. He's a guy you could see in Boston by March. And if they ever want to do something gigantic in terms of a trade, that's a guy they may have to give up and may be able to get it done. Interesting, very interesting prospect. Can really shoot it. Gigantic guy, pretty good smooth skater. And so it'll be fun to watch his development this year with the talent around him in Boston College.
Yeah. While we have a minute, let's talk about some of those extensions today that are eligible and what is possible, or what we're expecting. Obviously, the Demidov was a massive deal. And honestly, when this is all said and done and free agency is over for today, and we look back on all the contracts that were signed today, this Demidov deal probably will go down as the best deal signed. And that's not really a huge leap to get there, but there are really big name players that are eligible to sign contract extensions today. Quinn Hughes, Nico Hischier has done so already. You've got Cale Makar in Colorado. You have obviously some other restricted free agents as well. But there are massive. Say that again.
Marchenko.
Yeah, Marchenko is eligible for sure. But that's an RFA. These are the guys that I've got my eye on today. Like, how soon will we get a Macklin Celebrini San Jose Sharks extension? How eager is everyone to do that? Then there's Kucherov, which we talked a little bit about yesterday, but no one has really talked a ton about Kucherov. I mean, all of these projections feel a little bit low based on some of the money that we've seen thrown around. The only one that doesn't is Macklin Celebrini at 7 times 17. Look, there's so many things happening today. Sometimes these get lost a little bit in the grand scheme. But look, I don't know. I'm not expecting a Bedard extension today. I'm not expecting a Quinn Hughes extension today. He sure signed. Not expecting Kucherov. I wonder about Celebrini. This one would be massive.
How about Tyson Forster? Big deal for him.
Yeah.
Looks like 8 years, 7.1. The guy, when he came back, he was on fire. Then he cooled off a bit. Again, Martone, Forster, if they keep Tippett, there's some really good wingers in Philadelphia. If they ever started to cook and really reach their ceiling, now they're just trying to find some center icemen for the Flyers as they do some business. There's a Luster-Reinen contract we talked about, the 8-year extension the Panthers announcing there.
So here's one for you. The Chicago Blackhawks are adding some depth. They're bringing in Cole Smith, the forward most recently of the Vegas Golden Knights. They're getting him on a 3-year deal at $3 million per year. So $9 million for Cole Smith. They wanted to add a little bit of grit to the bottom of their lineup, make their team just a little bit harder to play against. Cole Smith, big details guy. And obviously coming over in that trade from Nashville to Vegas, gets that cup run and experience and can bring that to Chicago's locker room.
Yeah, he looked good. Just really energy and strong and just up and down, banging, just hit forechecking. Not a lot of offense, but really a pretty impressive player. So good for him that he's able to catch in.
I was going to say, if you're Chicago and Mikheyev's out the door and you need someone to fill in on your PK to add some grit, Cole Smith is your guy. And at 3 times 3, you might not be super excited about it, but again, a reminder of how much this market is changing. Important depth players are going to get paid as well.
Yeah, looks like Mason Marchment's going to go to San Jose, Frank. That's, the Sharks, that's a nice pickup for them. Top 6, that kind of just makes them a little bit stronger.
Where did you see that reported?
Yeah, I see that multiple places now.
I've seen people hinting at it. One team that I was really curious about was Pittsburgh. Would Kyle Dubas take a swing to bring Marchment back in, knowing the player so well? But it really makes sense in San Jose. I think ever since his dad passed away, there was, him and his dad were obviously incredibly tight. Mason Marchment grew up. He was born to be a San Jose Shark. He spent the first part of his childhood in San Jose. His dad played the most amount of games, Brian Marchment, in his career with those San Jose Sharks. So a team on the rise, a team, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you look at.
I was trying to nail that down, though. That's why I asked you.
Cool. Yeah, look at the top 6 there. Will Smith, Celebrini, Chernyshov, Colin Graff, Michael Misa. These are babies. Toffoli, obviously the one adult. Now you add another guy in there. And remember, they have Sherwood, they have Gaudette, Marchment. Now you have, Delandria's leadership quality. So they're Barclay Goodrow's there. So they're starting to get, again, they're supplementing that young talent with some sandpaper. And that's Mike Greer, just slowly building. They still need defensive help, obviously. Not sure what they can do there. They got Kesserling, and they inked him up. Orlov's last year of his deal, so maybe he'll be incentivized to play and put up a good year, get another contract. And so we'll see if Dickinson, how he matures. So it looks like San Jose, if they can do something on D, Frank, they were a playoff contending team last year. They are right there as a team that I'm sure they expect to make the playoffs next year with these kinds of moves.
Yeah. So some details on the Jaden Schwartz deal in Colorado. Scotty Upshaw first reported the 3-year deal. He comes in at 3 years times $3.25 million. So I love that move for the Avs. I think Schwartz has lots of game left. He's been around a long time, seen a lot of things. And I think getting a fresh start with some exciting players and offense in Colorado, Schwartz is going to be able to contribute that. And at that deal, at that price, it's never going to hurt you at 3.25.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just a good number for a guy, a real pro, Stanley Cup champion. Just 11 goals last year in 50 games, a bit of a downer after he kind of bounced back the year before. He had 26 in 24-25. That's probably got that deal. St. Louis, he scored 25, 28, 24, 22. Then he signs a deal in Seattle and injured his first year, pops back up with 21, injured again, pops back up with 26, and again last year, just 50 games. So if they can get healthy Jaden Schwartz 70 games, you're going to get 25 goals from him. So again, changing the blood in Colorado. Colton's in Nashville, Nichushkin's in Columbus. They trade Jack Drury as well. So it's going to look a little bit different in Colorado. But of course, it's still about Taves and Makar and McKinnon and Necas in the end. But just a little different complementary parts.
Yeah. And so I missed it at the time. It was Elliot Friedman who said Mason Marchment 5 times $7 million. So he gets a massive number in San Jose. They had cap space, could spend it. And I love the way Mason Marchment plays. You add a couple of these forwards now in San Jose. They've got the high skilled guys. Marchment can still score. But when you look at, Marchment coming in, and they already signed Kiefer Sherwood. He's got some grind to his game. These guys, you start to put together the other pieces of what San Jose is building, and I really like that picture that we're looking at.
Yeah, they're building a playoff type of roster, right? You got to make the playoffs first. Sometimes those are two different rosters, but there's no doubt Mike Greer is realizing we expect to make the postseason next year. We have one of the best players in the league. We hope Misa can make a jump and Will Smith can make another little jump. And then we still have time during the regular season to make deadline moves. But if we get there, we need some big bodies. We need some veterans. We need some guys that can be a factor. So yeah, I like what they're doing there to make that happen. And obviously for Columbus, maybe part of them was hoping he would stick around, but that's another big loss for them. An impact. He was when they had him last year, he was a productive player. He's gone. How many Blue Jackets are going to be gone? And do they suddenly become a tank team, Frank? Is what the Blue Jacket fans don't want to hear, but you may have to face it.
It's like I said, you can either stick your head in the sand or you can be proactive and try and manage these things. And that was not the path that they wanted to take. But I do have a signing for you. Okay. Sources say Corey Perry is going back to the Los Angeles Kings for his 41-year-old season.
Wow.
So Corey Perry back to the Kings.
Good stuff. Kenny Holland obviously likes him a lot. He knows he's a pro. He plays winning hockey. He does the things that it takes. He's 41 years old, 465 career goals. Last year, he had 17 goals in 72 games, 11 with the Kings in 50, 6 with Tampa Bay in 22. So a guy that can still get you 15 to 20 at that age. Don't think he's going to get to 500. He's 35 more. He'd probably need 3 more years. So, hey, guys have played, 41. He could play 43. Mark Recchi played till he was 43. Chelly almost hit 50. So, you keep scoring 15, 16 goals a year. He'll have a job, and then he'll get to 500. I'm rooting for him, for the 41-year-old.
I mean, 17 goals last year. Like,
if
you're scoring 17 goals, you're still playing.
And again, we talk about their PP1 in LA. He's certainly a guy who knows how to do that. He had 5 power play goals last year. He's got 129 in his career, so certainly a net front presence guy. Might not be on the first unit, but certainly could be. He could have 2 very good units in LA the way they're going now. Again, Zuccarello, Panarin, Fiala. Will Byfield make a jump? This could be the age where maybe they'd love for him to take a little bit of an offensive jump for the Kings. And also trying to put themselves in position just in case Matthews or McDavid decide not to extend where they are down the road. And maybe that could be a destination for them. Byfield, 24 goals last year. That was a career high. He's slowly gone up. He had 20, then 23, and now 24. So if he can get to 30, he's never going to be a great playmaker. He's like a 60-point guy. But if he can get 30 goals, 65, 70 points, be a little bit of a threat on the power play. Face-offs, not great, and he's in that 45% area. So we'll see what but again, just a young man, only 23 years old, turns 24 in August, Quentin Byfield. So the Kings doing some things today. Older things, Zuccarello and Perry. But again, these are winning kind of offensive players. And so they traded him for a second, remember, at the deadline, then they get him right back. So that's one of those good little moves where you trade a guy, get a second, and get him right back again.
Yeah. So the details on that Luosterainen extension in
what's that
Florida,
number?
8 years times $5 million. So he takes the term over the AAV. Again, Florida's trying to stretch this out. Fascinating that. I wonder, like, if you're Luosterainen, you're one of those guys, obviously you've got it good and you've had this amazing chance to win and you're still going to have it, but what would he have commanded on the market had he made it there next year?
Yeah, he's not a big goal scorer guy. He's a role guy. He's a bottom 6 role guy. So to get that kind of guaranteed cash, I mean, that's pretty good. He'll turn 28 in the fall. He's 11 goals, 9 goals, 12 goals. He had the 117 goal year for the Panthers. Everything, went in as his career high shooting percentage. But yeah, I think that's a good contract for him to take. And absolutely, I think that number's fine. He's just not he's not a 7-8 guy in my mind. So, but really a good player, a winning player again.
One more signing to pass along. The Chicago Blackhawks are closing in on a deal with defenseman Ian Cole.
Okay.
So Ian Cole's deal is actually structured a little bit different because he is older. Ian Cole is 37, played all 82 games last year with the Utah Mammoth. He's going to Chicago on a 1-year deal. AAV is $4 million, can earn up to 4.75 with performance-based bonuses.
All right. So yeah, Ian Cole last year, still just a solid player. Interesting though that with all the young defensemen they have, well, of course, he kind of replaces Grzelcyk, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
in terms of a body and similar salary.
I think what he really replaces is Connor Murphy in terms of a veteran leadership component. Bowen Byram's going to help, having been around, but he's not an old guy. But I think that leadership perspective was really needed on their back end.
Bartlett Hockey tweets out that Ryan Lomberg is headed to Columbus on a 2-year deal. The Lamborghini, he'll entertain Columbus fans with his rambunctiousness. He's got Matthew Olivier certainly right behind him, so he doesn't have to take the big heavyweight tilts, but he's a guy who's very popular, great personality, and he'll energize a room in Columbus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not pouring cold water on anything at the moment, but I'm not overly optimistic that the Flyers are going to be able to land John Carlson when this is all said and done. I think part of the Carlson push here is a place where he feels like he has an authentic chance to win. I don't know if that is the Flyers at this exact juncture for Carlson in his career. So I'm not saying they're out. I'm just saying I don't think that they're in the driver's seat as a lot of people have been reported.
I could see that. But it would be obviously it would be a good get for their power play. I think he would be their PP1 guy there, maybe not other places, but so we'll see. Will Carolina be able to sign Carlson? Will Tampa Bay, if they don't see a Werenski, could they get both Werenski and Carlson in Tampa Bay and really reimagine a little more dynamic offensive blue line in Tampa Bay? That's something they've really kind of lacked on the back end. I had Radish as obviously a power play guy and a threat. Dastu was actually a pretty good guy for them to give a little spark offensively, can move the puck a little bit. But I think if you're thinking postseason in Tampa Bay, Werenski and Carlson in the postseason, that makes Tampa Bay a little different opponent if they somehow end up on the Lightning.
So the New York Rangers have made a small trade. They are getting goaltender Joonas Korpisalo from the Boston Bruins. So they got their backup. So it's going to be Shesterkin and Korpisalo moving forward.
Okay, so the Bruins get some cap relief there.
That's actually a great segue to talk about the goalie market and where things stand at this exact moment in time. Obviously, everyone's waiting on the Connor Hellebuyck situation in Winnipeg. Oh my God, there's so many things happening. Werenski, Hellebuyck, Robertson, all these things going on, plus all these free agents. It is like madness trying to get the right words out of my mouth. But everyone's watching Hellebuyck really closely. Here are the free agent goalies that are available today. We expect Sergei Bobrovsky to be a very real thing with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not done yet. Where makes sense for Stuart Skinner? I wonder if the St. Louis Blues move on from Jordan Binnington, who is a big question mark in terms of his future in St. Louis. Does Stuart Skinner make sense? So these are the trade options: Binnington, Hill, Merzlikins, Devin Levi in Buffalo, and of course, Sam Montembeault. The Canadians aren't afraid. They're not in a rush. They're not afraid to bring back three goalies. I think it's probably ill-advised to try and do so for a full season, as Jacob Fowler has clearly beaten out Sam Montembeault for that spot. Let's see what that competition looks like, of course, later on. But the goalie market, Hellebuyck squarely kind of obviously dominating the very middle of that for these teams that are looking for a high-end addition. Florida, they got done their situation. I believe the Utah Mammoth are done and solidified with Kosa backing up Vejmelka. Now we know the New York Rangers are done with Joonas Korpisalo in that trade, replacing Jonathan Quick, the retiring legend and future Hockey Hall of Famer. But keep an eye on the goalie market. I expect it to heat up in a pretty significant way.
Ilya Mikheyev is off to Tampa Bay. Pretty good year in Chicago last year, 18 goals, 20 the year before. His agent tweets that out, that Ilya Mikheyev, obviously 6'2", 190, 427 NHL games, excellent skater, kills some penalties. And so he is off to the Tampa Bay Lightning on a 4-year deal.
Wow.
Dan Milstein
That's pretty
tweets
significant.
That one out.
What? Who had that?
His agent, Dan Milstein.
Okay.
Tweeted that
Dan
one
Milstein
out.
is bombing out deals today. The only funny part about the Ivan Demidov deal that he tweeted out, he said 9.125. He had to correct himself. He had the wrong number. It was actually 9.15. Whoops.
Whoops. That's more.
That's good. So Ilya Mikheyev, 4-year deal in Tampa. That's interesting. So he's got the Kucherov connection. He's got the He's got the Vasilevsky connection. He's got everything happening in Tampa, Dan Milstein.
Michael Russo, Wild beat writer, says Foligno and Bogosian look like they're going to re-sign with Minnesota. So Nick is not done. I was talking might retire or might come back. It looks like he's going to play another year with his bro. So the Bruins trade their backup goalie.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, remember they put Brandon Bussey. They had him in the organization for a while, but let him go. Tyson Forster, big deal today with the Flyers. He's locked up. Flyers. And what about Claude Giroux? Do you think
or 7 times
Jonesy and Briere like to bring back the old Flyers? You think that's a possibility?
It is a possibility. The Flyers are not there yet. I think they're going to circle back later today to see if they can. I still think the door is open for Claude Giroux in Ottawa, meaning he's kept the door open for Ottawa. They haven't been able to meet what he's looking for from a money perspective. And look, Ottawa's home. It'd be real easy to stay there. Don't have to move your family. Philly would be a certain kind of comfort, of course, that would come with that. Going back to that organization, he played and made some magic with Danny Briere on the ice. To have him now be your boss as general manager, I think there would be a certain amount of excitement there as well. But right now, the Flyers have so many different lines in the water. They're still trying to manage the John Carlson situation. I think they're out on Zach Werenski at this point. Wondering what's happening with Darnell Nurse. There's only so many dollars to go around. They want to make sure that they're spending them in the correct order that they see fit. So Giroux possibility, but definitely not a done deal.
Yeah, the Bruins, obviously, Korpisalo was making $3 million. Michael DiPietro just won the MVP in the American League. They can bring him up minimum wage. That saves them about $2. So now they got about $10 million. They were in the Darnell Nurse, obviously, talk about bringing him on and just trying to figure out, will Edmonton eat any of that contract? And Boston certainly is in position now to take on a $9 million player, or I'm sure they hope it's more like 7 or 8. But, Boston now does have the room for Nurse if that's something that they're interested in doing, as Korpisalo trade again frees up he was making 3, DiPietro is going to be around 1. So they add there. Again, Matt Zuccarello, 1-year deal in LA. I mentioned the Rasmus Anderson earlier, 7 times 8.5 you had mentioned. Don't know if that ask went down or could have gotten more right away. I don't know. But it's 8.5 for 7. You mentioned Marchment to the Sharks, 5 times 7. Mason Marchment, good year last year in Columbus. Don Waddell picked him up, and that was a good move, but now they lose him for nothing. Columbus has got lots
who are you most
now.
interested? Who are you most curious about of all the guys that you see scrolling here through the bottom of your screen? Who gets you excited?
Well, Bob is, just because Bob's a Hall of Famer. Trouba is one for sure. A right-handed shot, top 4. He's really kind of found a new game, Frank, a comfort level that makes him just a good complementary piece. If that's what you need, it's got to kind of fit to what you're doing. Line A is someone who could pop for 35. You never know. Kane is always fun to think about, another Hall of Famer. Anders Lee is going to be out there, but as these, we talked about Ferraro earlier, Boone Jenner, the Columbus Blue Jacket. Well, you might end up back there now if they kind of change course. And maybe we do want his leadership if we're going to do this. But yeah, like I said, Borkstrand maybe back to Columbus. Again, the Werenski and Hellebuyck are the two. I guess Larkin, because it's been so long since we found out that news, you kind of forget about him. But I suppose that could happen anytime as well. But the Hellebuyck one for me, Frank, I think that really would be kind of seismic. The goalie, the gold medal performance, the regular season success, not quite the postseason, but still, if Buffalo were to get him, that just changes a lot, don't you think?
I mean, it just does, right? You're talking about, he could go down as the greatest, like one of the most decorated goalies of all time. He's got to win in the postseason, but
Yes,
the
that's
Vezinas,
the last hurdle. Yep.
there aren't that many guys that win Hart trophies as goalies. So you're talking about a Hart Trophy, multiple Vezinas, an Olympic gold, an MVP worthy performance. It's about as sterling a resume as you can get absent a Stanley Cup. And so it is seismic, but Winnipeg is sitting here with a franchise icon trying to make sure that the return is seismic, so that the biggest thing for the Winnipeg Jets in their market is they're kind of like St. Louis a little bit. They got to have a competitive team. This whole like, oh, we're going to rebuild and we're going to embark on a 5-year path, like doesn't really work for them from a business perspective of selling tickets and their marketplace. Nashville has a little bit of that too. Like you kind of got to be in the mix. You don't have to be a playoff team every year, but you can't be way out of it. And when you move on from a player like Connor Hellebuyck, they're trying to convince him like, hey, come back, give us one more shot, one more year. Let's see what we can get done. See if we can convince you to stay. You signed an 8-year deal with us. You know, you've got this time left on your deal. It would be seismic. There's no doubt. That's a great word to use.
Yeah, since 1960, only 5 goalies have won the MVP. Jacques Plante, Dominic Hasek, Jose Theodore, Carey Price, and Connor Hellebuyck. Very rarely happens. Mm-hmm. So, Samuel Ersson to Ottawa. 2-year deal.
The Sens acquired Ersson's rights from Toronto a few days ago. So they make that deal official, getting him in as he hit the market 2 times 2.
3.85 for Mikheyev's 4-year deal. Nice little payday for him. Ross Johnston, who looked pretty good last year for Anaheim. Heading to St. Louis and the Blues. And
they announced 3 years times $2 million.
Yeah, it looks like fourth period says VL to Tampa Bay. I like that pick for them. That almost has like Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow feelies back in the day, right? They got those 2 guys. That's when they won their cups.
100%. I made sure to try and I really pushed hard in my top 50 to get VL in that mix. I couldn't make it work based on the other guys in front of him with their stats and projections. But I love VL, the production that he had, how much he fit like a glove in Anaheim, 10 points in 45 games, but was just that guy in the postseason that was like a thorn in your side. Really, it was fun watching VL kind of come alive, and what a waiver pickup too. What a way to boost yourself in your career, hitting the ground running in Anaheim, and they had to make some really tough decisions with their lineup.
So again, Tampa Bay, it's not working. First round exits, we got Colorado kind of doing a little bit of that. They haven't had first round exits like Tampa Bay has had since they lost in the Cup final to Colorado. But again, you got at some point, it's the old line. I'm not sure who gets credit for it, but to try to do the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So just sometimes you got to mix it up a little bit. So Mikheyev, again, a good defensive player, plays in that middle 6 kind of a deal, can support some guys. And
wow. So Elliot Friedman reports that the Jeffrey VL deal is 5 years times $2.5 million.
Ooh, that's what we see now. These guys get in turn, like Olivier's contract, guys in that generally bottom 6, get them some term. So basically, it's that's $12 million.
That is hefty. That is
12.
That is a ton of money.
Yeah, $12.5 million over 5 years. So that's how he looks at it, 2.5. And Tampa's, the Paul contract was like that. They'll give you term to get that number down.
Life-changing. I mean, this guy was on waivers. The projection from AFP Analytics for Jeffrey VL was 1 times 1.1. Yeah. They were only about 12 million short. I mean,
buy himself a nice little $2.5, $3 million home down there in Tampa.
This guy was a healthy scratch all year. Like before going on waivers was a healthy scratch for a huge chunk of the year. $12.5 million. That is something. That's one of those ones that you go, man. I get like if you wanted to go like 2 times 2.5, I could see being sold on. I'm not even saying they did the wrong thing. I'm just saying it's an amazing stretch. Like who else were you competing with to go to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year on VL?
Right. I guess it was just a term. Maybe everyone was around 2 to 2. They probably wanted 2 or 3 years, but man, once you go to 5 of that number, that's an easy yes.
What a change of scenery. And by the way, so now if you're thinking about Tampa, right? So they add VL, they add Mikheyev. They just became a lot harder to play against.
Absolutely. That's obviously what they're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. And now if you could land Carlson, one of Carlson or Werenski, Tampa Bay Lightning, the Battle of Florida would be back on if that were the case. All of a sudden, Florida and Tampa going head-to-head, Montreal, Buffalo, and maybe Toronto. That Atlantic division is like, that's war now. That's group of death.
Should be 5 playoff, should be 5 playoff teams there, I would expect. Once again, and then have the three in the Metro, Carolina at the top, and then all those teams in a bunch. We thought it would be Columbus, but not anymore. So now it's Pittsburgh, it's Philadelphia. Washington has certainly kind of reestablished themselves. The Devils trying to formulate. They had 87 points last year, so they're in the mix. The Rangers getting Dorofeyev, trying to. So that's the Metro is going to be very competitive. Just about every team but Columbus. We'll see with the Islanders if this is still kind of we need one more year until those prospects start showing up. Probably wouldn't have them as a top 3 team. Right now, Frank, I'd probably go, Carolina for sure. If I had to lean one way, I think I'm going to give Washington a top 3. And then it's really, like I said, then it's Philly, Pittsburgh, or the Devils probably, unless the Rangers unexpectedly pop, which is, we'll see, if they. What about Trocheck? We haven't mentioned Trocheck for a while. Is he going to get traded still? Does it change if they get Dorofeyev?
I can't figure this one out. So they've been eager to trade Vincent Trocheck, and the ask back at the deadline was high. It was like 1st round pick plus. And a couple people were saying at the time, like teams are going like, we love Vincent Trocheck and that contract and the versatility, like all good stuff, but we can't pay that price. And then now as we've gotten into the summer, I'm told that the Rangers have upped the asking price from there, which like, I don't understand. If you couldn't get someone to meet it at the trade deadline, like if your house sits on the market for a long time at that price and it doesn't move, and then you come back and you raise the price, seemingly you would get less interest. So at the same time, and Darren Dreger reporting here that Jack Roslovic is going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. At the same time, like you look around the league, you go, who's going to pay the price to take Vincent Trocheck off your hands when his no trade list hasn't changed? Like, I think the Montreal Canadiens were interested. Montreal was on the no list. That hasn't changed. He doesn't have any interest in going to the West. That hasn't changed. So at some point you're going to need to put all that together, and the math isn't mathing for me.
Wow, Jack Roslovic got $4 million for 2 years. $4 million AAV for 2 years. Good for him to remain an American who remains in Canada.
That doesn't surprise me at all. The Edmonton Oilers were interested in bringing Jack Roslovic back. Obviously, the production that they got was excellent relative to pay. But because of that, Jack Roslovic also wasn't able to sit in a place where he needs the money, right? These are prime earning years. You can't take another hometown discount to stay. So I think some of the ask was closer to like 4 years at 4 years at 5. He obviously takes a little bit less term to go to Toronto, but Jack Roslovic, the Columbus native, as you mentioned, has played in Winnipeg, Edmonton, now Toronto, on his quest to play for all of Canada's 7.
That's right. That's right. It looks like Victor Arvidsson got 5 for 2 years AAV. So good for him, as he, again, a nice bounce back year. I don't know if Boston would have taken him for 3 or 4. I don't know. Again, by trading Korpisalo, not re-signing him, they're trying to think of other things. And we'll see what kind of role James Hagen's get this year, if they're going to give him a good look. The Bruins developing young players. Sometimes they always don't give them the best pathway to stick with them, be patient, roll with them. They're a little impatient. They're very competitive. And so we'll see. But yeah, we're about just over an hour in, 1:06 Eastern time, here on July 1st, 2026. Free agency, possible trades, contract extensions. We've seen it all today. Maverick Bourque in Nashville. Kind of got it before the noon hour. Let's see.
Yeah, are the Preds better today than they were before? Jack Drury, Ross Colton.
It's hard to say. We thought they were going to be really good a couple summers ago, right? And that didn't really work out. But again, last year, 86 points. So, if they can just get 10 points better, they're a playoff team. 95 is probably, once again, 94 to, Utah made it with 92 last year in the Western Conference. So they're not that far away. Just 86 points, and they finished 4-5-1. They really had I thought they were going to be the team when everyone was bunched up there with 10 games to go. I thought Nashville was going to do it, and they didn't. So they're right there.
Mm-hmm. They're not far off. I don't see them as big. They're not differentiated from the Kings or from all those other teams that are in that mix. And San Jose is going to be right there again this year. They might be punching through. So the tough part I think for Nashville, for Chicago, for Utah, for all these teams in the Central Division, you're hoping that Dallas takes a step back. You go, no Bourque, no Lyubushkin, maybe no Robertson. What do the Stars look like? But it was Colorado, Dallas, and Minnie. How do you wedge your team into that spot? That's certainly what the Utah Mammoth are trying to consider, is how do we break through and acquire a difference maker to become a better team where we're in the conversation with those teams. And man, it's easier said than done. And for the teams at the bottom or closer to the bottom, including St. Louis, who I didn't mention, you almost you have to bide your time a little bit too, right? You got to find the right time to strike and begin to rise up, because otherwise it's a futile exercise trying to do that at the same exact time while Colorado's firing on all cylinders and Minnie's getting better. And that Central Division is no joke, just like the Atlantic.
Yes, those are the two big ones in each conference. And we mentioned yesterday how, that the Johnston signed in St. Louis, Alex Steen is now the GM. We assume these are all his decisions now, Frank, going forward in terms of sign and term and working with his capologist. So
I wonder about Jacob Trouba. I was just fleshing some things out here and following up. There were some rumblings Jacob Trouba might be going to Washington. That is inaccurate. I hinted yesterday in the show about Boston. They're the team that I would remain focused on. Nothing's done. Jacob Trouba would be a really interesting fit in Boston, adding some bite to that blue line.
Anthony Mantha's a name we haven't talked about much. Is last year's Anthony Mantha going to be Anthony Mantha for the next 3 years? If so, he's one of the better players available in terms of production. Rangy, good skater, excellent size. You're not going to get the sandpaper of Mason Marchment, but if he can do it again, Frank, 33 goals, 64 points. I mean, that's $7 million. It's $8 million. And I'm sure he's looking for the big payday. And there's some good teams out there saying, man, could you take this and play with a good team? But he's like, nah, I'm 31 years old. I'm going to turn 32 this fall. I need 5 times 30, 35 right now. That's what he's fishing for, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to find it?
I don't know. I don't know with that knee injury, and I don't know with his past sort of play kind of going like that.
For sure.
But this just in from Darren Dreger. He says that Stuart Skinner has signed in Winnipeg.
Oh.
3 times 375. Now, Stuart Skinner, we talked about yesterday. The numbers haven't been there, but this is a guy who's gone to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. Disappointing season and gets traded to Pittsburgh. But at 27, that's still really young to be an NHL starter. Why? I know the Winnipeg Jets were in a spot where they felt like their backup position let them down last year. They weren't prepared for a Connor Hellebuyck injury. But if Connor Hellebuyck's staying, you're not signing Stuart Skinner to 3 years times 375.
Yeah.
That to me, I immediately quote tweeted Dregs and put the eyeballs out there, because that to me signals that the Jets are well prepared to move on from Connor Hellebuyck and that this is happening.
Yeah, that's $12 million worth of goalies with Hellebuyck staying. Obviously, Comrie's a UFA.
60 games. Like, what? You don't need to spend that on your backup.
No. Sounds like they might go with a couple of $4 million guys-ish like that. And who knows? Maybe don't know what the market for Freddie Anderson's going to be. Would they give him 4.5 or something for a couple? And then they have those 2 goalies go at it. And that's, those are 2 good goalies. I mean, those are professional goalies. And they could go that route, like you said. And then you trade Hellebuyck for stuff. And, they have Connor and they have Scheifele and Velarde, Adam Lowry. And then you add some, whatever the trade you'd get. I'm sure there would be offensive guys. Their defense is all signed up. Pionk and Morrissey and Sandberg and DeMello. That's their top 4. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think that must signal that it's probably going to happen now. If you thought he was going back, I think you're right. This means we don't know when, but he's going to get traded, like Werenski is and like Larkin will.
It's the perfect insurance, though. You get a guy who's played in a Canadian market, who has gone to 2 cup finals. He may not be perfect, but if you believe in your goalie coach and you believe in the environment that you're putting him into, Stuart Skinner can be a perfectly capable NHL starter. He's not going to play 60 games, but he could do 45 or 50 in the right tandem and keep him fresh. Like, I have no issue with that whatsoever. I think that makes a ton of sense for Winnipeg. And again, certainly seems to spell the end or the near end to the Connor Hellebuyck experience in Winnipeg.
And also, not everything, but he's a Western Canadian, right? Like, I mean, he's from out there. So as opposed to getting a kid from Texas, you got a Canadian, he'll play there.
Yep.
Fourth period says Veleno to the Rangers.
Not qualified. Did he have 6 points last year? 5 or 6, 1 goal, 5 assists. Like, that was a tough year for Joe Veleno.
Elliot Freeman says Achari to Philly. It's interesting. The Penguin, Kyle Dubas always loves him some Nola Achari, but for whatever reason, he's going to go try to be a little quicker in the bottom 6. Obviously, a heart and soul guy. The boots are getting a little slow now, but he will block a shot with his face.
That appears to be their Luke Glendening replacement that they really liked and used well in the playoffs.
Yep. Face-off guy, late in the game guy, block shots. He'll do it all. Absolutely.
And some size.
Absolutely. Yep. No doubt. Big, strong kid. National champion with the Providence College Friars 2015 when they beat Jack Eichel and BU. With Brendan Tanev and Mark Jankowski. And they had
Can you believe we're closing in on the last 15 minutes of our show? These 2 hours have flown by.
They really have. That's like I said, people say about the draft being so long. hosting. I loved it. I could have gone on for 2 more hours. I love talking hockey. I love, especially when you have 4 people up there. And I really enjoyed it. It went fast. 4 hours for me went fast. Good TV. I always tell producers at ESPN or young producers, when it goes fast, that means it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then tonight I'm doing SportsCenter. First SportsCenter of the offseason. We'll drive to Connecticut. We're on after Reds Brewers, 11 to midnight. So your boy Bucci. And if the producers don't have hockey in the rundown, I will get hockey information in. I might do it going to every commercial break. I might do a different hockey transaction. Totally rogue. I'm going rogue on SportsCenter tonight with all kinds of NHL. You need to get me a scoop that I can have on SportsCenter tonight. Frank Seravalli reports. That's your goal, between 11 and midnight, to get a scoop.
All right.
So tell one of your sources. Can we hold it to 11 after Reds Brewers?
Look, I mean, there are options between Robertson, Werenski, Hellebuyck. I mean, those would all be SportsCenter worthy transactions. And by the way, when's the last time you did a SportsCenter?
Yeah, it would have been last, September.
Oh, wow. Is it just like riding a bike? You just sit down. Do you actually write the script yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing this by myself tonight. It's a solo. So like I like to have time to regroup. Who is this player on Milwaukee? I don't know this guy. I'm all hockey. So it's going to be and plus we have a post-game soccer segment, I think, with the USA. They're playing tonight, right? So I got to get my soccer down. It's NBA free agency. I got Shams in there. So yeah, it's going to be, your boy might be a little rattled. I might be a little rattled. Take it slow.
So just, we knew that not imminent, but Darren Dreger does say this does not mean a trade involving Hellebuyck is imminent. Decent insurance or backup for the Jets. So again, I think we can all read the tea leaves here. And I misreported. It's 2 times 375, but still, it's way more than Winnipeg would normally spend. And it's way more than they would need if Connor Hellebuyck's playing 58 or 60 of the 84 games. And yes, I said 84.
I mean, they're not a cap team, so they could carry $12 million worth of goalies. It's not a big deal. Maybe, and then they have, a very good backup to Hellebuyck if they kept him. So that doesn't mean, because again, they don't have to worry about the cap. But ideally, 375 for your back is a little rich.
Yep.
For most people. But they could do it. Like I said, if somehow they talk him into it, or somehow it doesn't happen and it gets later in the summer, he's like, all right, I'll play one more. But I would doubt that.
So one thing I can add, and I think a lot of people have been curious, or I got a couple of these DMs and tweets yesterday. Does not appear that Patrick Kane is going home to the Chicago Blackhawks. People were curious, hey, could this be a potential reunion? We've got all these other guys. Maybe Giroux goes back to Philly. Could Patrick Kane go to Chicago? It's not 100% no, but it's pretty unlikely. And I think the options, aside from the obvious of going back to Detroit, would be the Buffalo Sabres. So keep an eye on those 2 teams. I wonder if does Toronto try and get in the mix? I think Kane is redundant in Toronto based on his skill set and specialty right now. But is there another team out there that's thinking, if Patrick Kane plays 78 games, he's going to score us 65 points? We need that.
Kuzmenko, he had some juice for a while in LA. I wonder someone who takes a flyer on him.
Another power play specialist, a guy that transforms your power play immediately. But when he's not doing that and he's not scoring, I don't know when you use him or where you put him on the ice.
Still no Bob news. I thought we might get some early Bob news. That one was in the top drawer, but I guess not.
Well, maybe they have to be extra careful after that Bob image leaking, if you're really talking tampering.
Yep. The 4th period says Matthias Michelli to the Islanders. Remember, he was became a free agent, not qualified.
Not QO'd, yes.
Yeah, good playmaker.
Yeah. What do you have on there for shorts today?
Yeah, these are cool. I got these at the Dick's. Very comfy. I wanted to finish the show in the light with professional lighting because it was charging. It's been a fun year. I really enjoyed doing this with you, Frank, and hope we continue next season.
Likewise.
I'll have my beans.
I mean, we really. Oh, there you go. The bushes. No, I don't have my Frank here, so I can't.
Yeah, where are you?
I'm at the cottage.
Oh, the cottage. You have a cottage? Why didn't you get a cottage?
So I've been here for like 10 days now. Kids are out of school. Everyone's hanging.
That's awesome.
That's where I dropped my phone in the pool. Yeah, that was fun.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for watching.
What else can we get done here?
Sarah wants us to stay longer.
Oh, what's going on in our chat? What is everyone?
Are they being quiet?
No, the chat has been on fire.
Okay, come on, people. Produce the show. You produce the rest of the show. Whatever you ask, we'll talk about. Paul Cotter, Vancouver, says Elliot. 1 year, 2.15. Paul Cotter, Vancouver. Trying to get to the floor.
FF 2x2 says, "Man, what am I going to do all summer now since this is our last show?"
Yeah, they can tweet at us and DM us. I'm going to try to spend less time on the phone once all the news is done. I got to be better at that.
That would be good for my health. Like literally, I'm not a big AirPods guy. I actually like to hold the phone and talk, but this week I've had to I need to go out and get my steps in. So I've been putting the AirPods in and talking more, which has been a little bit refreshing.
I like it, yeah. And then also go for a walk without the phone. That's actually the healthiest thing you can do too. When you're able to, once all the news is done, just even 10 minutes. Because otherwise your brain's not rebooting if you're also on your phone while you walk.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, there's a little outdoor gym near me. I hadn't seen one before.
Wow.
But
yeah,
like the full weight set, everything, like the machines, like you could, and it's free. You could just walk in. It's like from the city, like you can go get in what you need in the sun. And I just kind of hit that on my little path. Like I've dropped a few LBs this week.
I've been at 2 outdoor gyms. One was South Beach, like in 1989. And then what's that? The famous Muscle Beach there in LA. What's that boardwalk or is that Santa Monica? Or is that?
It's at Venice, right?
Venice, yeah. I did that. The 2002 NHL All-Star game was in LA and got to work out there outside. Yeah, it's a cool little thing. That's 2 times.
Yeah, Muscle Beach.
Yeah.
That's it. What else we got?
Trevor Van Riemsdyk, 2 years, $4 million cap hit contract with the Penguins.
Wow, he got $8 million. Wow, he got a raise.
Yeah, man, what a nice little career he has had.
He's really carved out a great career. It's so great to be a right shot defenseman. Like it's a massive game. Ask Cody Ceci how big of a game changer
left-handed reliever. It's the left-handed reliever. 35 in July.
I mean, Trevor Van Riemsdyk was a healthy scratch at varying points and didn't get traded at last year's trade deadline as a pending UFA on a non-playoff team. And now I was thinking, what's the future going to hold? And he ends up getting a raise. Good for him.
Absolutely. 68 games last year. 3 goals. Played 16 minutes a night. Mm-hmm. And good skater. Just say he got 751 games. So this contract, let's say he plays all 164. He'll still be a little light for 1,000, but close. He'll be at like 920, 915. So he needs 4 more years. It's going to be close for Trevor. We'll see. I hope he gets it. JVR's brother.
Where's Anders Lee going to go?
Yeah. I think people assume Minnesota cheap. I don't see that. That doesn't make sense now to me. What about Chicago? Could they use someone like him? Almost like the Foligno role.
I don't see Midwest.
It's close to Minnesota.
I don't think they want to commit that kind of their big thing. And a lot of people have been saying, hey, the Blackhawks.
Rangers or Devils. so he doesn't
They
have to
need to go out
move.
and get that difference maker, right? Who's going to be that guy? And what the Blackhawks don't want to do is close off. Like, they just got all these guys through the draft, right? Now Kanserov is finally coming over, the best player in Russia last year. He comes over. You want to block his path? You want to block the path for Anton Frondel to play meaningful top line, top 6 minutes? Is he a center? Is he a wing? Like, the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where all these guys that you just got crushed in the standings to pick now don't have a spot to play because you brought in Anders Lee in his 30s, and now you feel like you need to play him because you paid him.
So we're an hour and 25 in since the noon starting gun to free agency or contract extensions. I don't know. It's been okay. How would you rate this in the excitement scale, news scale? About a 5, 6 out of 10?
I'd give it a 7. I mean,
Okay.
there have been enough sign. And like, again, think about what this, first off, like, let's go back a year and think about what today could have been like. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, like, you go through Kirill Kaprizov, all these guys that could have been UFAs today. We knew we were going to get our dreams crushed, and these guys would be re-signing to prevent this historic free agent class. But once that happened, you were thinking, okay, July 1, Canada Day, it's going to be a dud. This is the worst free agent crop we can remember. But all these other things percolating at the same time: Robertson, Hellebuyck, Werenski, Marchenko, Larkin. I mean, we haven't spent 1 minute today talking really about Dylan Larkin at all. That's incredible. And he's been hanging out here. I'll tell you what, and just something to chew on, there was some talk yesterday about a Larkin for Robertson swap. Now, obviously it didn't happen, but Larkin for Robertson straight up would have been really interesting, because you would have gotten Robertson to then re-sign, and then the Stars get Larkin at a valuable deal, and he's signed for 5 years. So I don't know. Again, maybe I should caution straight up, but there was some chatter out there yesterday about that exact notion or idea.
I think that would be a straight up-ish trade. Son or Iceman, but the other guy scores 40, but Larkin scores enough. And obviously very good two-way player.
Beat on points almost every year. I mean, it's
if
you're doing a center for winger swap, the winger has to be more productive than the center.
Correct, right. And wow, that'd be something. Scott Perunovich 1 year two-way deal, $850 in the NHL, Frank, $650 in the minors. That's a pretty good two-way deal. Is that about norm nowadays for a vet like that?
Yeah. What did Noah Juleson get in Colorado?
Didn't see that one yet. Declan Carlisle, 2 years, 1.5 with the Penguins. So again, the Penguins is reimagining their D a bit. He's a good, he can move. It's interesting. Zuccarello got $1 million in bonuses in LA. I wonder why wouldn't Minnesota do that?
Yeah, that part I can't really figure out. Maybe they had drawn a line.
Oh, good together.
I know that it feels like a miss that they wouldn't be interested in something like that.
Unless
maybe there's
right
something
down
else
to the dollar trying to get Larkin. Like maybe they're right down to the dollar, and however they see their team, if they get Larkin, it'll look like this. And I don't know.
Right. I could see that.
And would he want to play with Kaprizov? Like I want to play with Kaprizov and Boldy. Then you wouldn't have Zuccarello in a second line. You'd need probably something else other than him. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Good day.
Yeah, right. Steve Goldstein, the play-by-play man, tweeted out 13 Panthers now signed through the end of the decade. 13 are signed through the end of the decade.
Do you have a biggest surprise today? Like who got way more than you thought they would? Maybe aside from Bo and Byram.
Yeah, I was a little more like I was always saying 10 in our show the last couple of months. I was saying he's a $10 million guy. The 12.5, but again, it's 20% more, whatever. Not my money. So, but that's the neighborhood. I thought it was a little more than I would have gone, but not that much more. Like I said, I think he's a 10 guy. I know a lot of people on the X don't like him, but I don't know. I think he's a hockey player. We'll see. Who got a little more than I thought? Well, again, so the term kind of is always interesting. The Gudis and the VL term is kind of fun.
The VL 5 times 2.5 is, again, it's not a bad move. It's just to think that VL had the ability to command $12.5 million is the part that I don't really understand.
Vitek Vanacek will sign with the Islanders. There as a backup, 1-year deal.
Makes sense.
Yep. I guess, Marchment was about 7. I think we figured that. I imagine he probably would have had multiple 7s, right? Sounds like he just chose San Jose. Like, I bet there might have been 3 teams offer that contract.
There was a big pull for him in San Jose. His dad worked for the Sharks. Obviously, really sad story. Passed away at the draft 4 years ago. I think it was July 6, 2022. And worked for the Sharks. His dad played for the Sharks. The Sharks are getting a lot better. It makes so much sense for Mason Marchment to go to San Jose. That's kind of where he grew up. And now this team on the rise, they can afford to pay it. It's not exorbitant for a guy that I think has 30-goal potential and capability, and certainly played at that pace after his trade to Columbus. So that one makes sense to me.
As the Empty Netters posted, the Kings signed 4 players aged 41, 39, 35, and 34. They're going with the veteranis. They are obviously trying to make the postseason and be a factor.
A couple of those guys I think are older than Anze Kopitar, funny enough, who is already retired.
Absolutely.
But so as we wrap here, give me one bold prediction for the summer. One of these like big 4 or 5 players and where they end up.
Wow. Again, I assume Larkin, Minnesota, Hellebuyck, Buffalo, Werenski, Tampa Bay. And is there one more I'm forgetting?
Robertson.
Who's the man? Oh, and Robertson. Yeah. And Robertson stays in Dallas.
Okay.
That's going to be my prediction. How about you?
Yeah, I was going to say that was one of my bold ones, is Robertson staying in Dallas now that they've cleared that space. Can they just wrap their brains around that structure for their team? And will there be any lingering discord between some of these other guys who are now making less than Robertson? Always probably one of those concerns if that were to happen. I'm going to say Dylan Larkin.
Vegas. Is that why they didn't sign Dorofeev?
I think that's what they're gearing up for. Was they were mathing out, how do we keep Rasmus Andersson and go after Dylan Larkin? I just don't know what Steve Yzerman can get from Vegas. Like what moves the needle to make a Dylan Larkin trade happen? I want to say something totally like one of the teams that comes to mind for me for Dylan Larkin is the New York Rangers. I don't know why. It just feels right.
For Trocheck and a young player.
What about Dylan Larkin, Washington Capitals?
They got stuff to trade. Would you trade Ryan Leonard? Would you probably? I mean, definitely straight up. But could it be a package of Ryan Leonard and some stuff? I mean, they have stuff.
What about the Boston Bruins?
No doubt about it. They would love him. How can that? They have.
But will Larkin widen his list? I think that has to happen in order for a trade to materialize. Because if it were going to happen with one of the teams that's on his list, it would have happened by now, I would think. And at some point, there is some urgency to do it because these teams that want to get these guys are already spending that money, right? They're already out there. Hey, we can't sit around forever and wait. We got to make our team better. We can't be left holding the bag. And I'm going to say Connor Hellebuyck, not Buffalo.
Okay.
I don't know where that is, but if it were going to be Buffalo, they would have done it and 4 would have been involved and Winnipeg could have picked whoever they wanted. Obviously, they've they reached a spot where it was just a no-go. I think I'm going to say Connor Hellebuyck, Carolina.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we wait. These big trades, the big four we just told you about, might take some time. Maybe it'll be later today. Maybe these are the discussions going on right now. But still an exciting day. Some big things obviously have to happen with those gentlemen. And but after that, who would be your number one guy on the board hasn't signed today of the UFAs? Are we able to figure that out? Because Marchment was up there in
that
the
I
top.
think won't sign today.
No, who's left? Like who's the number one? We've top 5 available left guards, like when ESPN does the NFL draft. Who's the best available player available for just free agency, UFA, right now?
After today.
After, like right now, because obviously,
Oh.
Marchment would have been one of them. Like who's left there that you think?
Well, that's when you start to get into the Anders Lee.
Okay.
I mean, someone's going to probably do pretty well with Michael Bunting. I'd imagine that he has a bounce back year. Mario Ferraro's in that conversation. And one guy that hasn't come across our plate yet, but I believe is in line for like 20 to 25 million bucks is Logan Stanley. There are people that watch the Winnipeg Jets super closely and said Logan Stanley got a lot better over the last 18 months. He's on track to be a really good defenseman. Doesn't have a lot of wear on those tires at 28. Has the size and has some increased puck skills and puck play. I think Logan Stanley is going to end up with like somewhere in that neighborhood, 5x5, something like that.
I agree. He's got a cockiness about him now, which I like. He fights. He'll fight anybody now. He didn't do that at first. He's I had him a couple of years ago in the playoffs. He played a couple games in that series against Dallas in Winnipeg. I did 3 playoff games in Winnipeg, and he was, he's like a big stork out there, big giraffe. But then I really like his attitude change early last year. That's why I like the trade when Buffalo got him, because I saw that attitude in Winnipeg earlier in the year. And I agree. I think he's around. He's definitely a 5 to 5.5. He's in that area. That's no doubt. In fact, those guys, that was the old Chernak number, right? 5.55. That was his comp. That might be 6 now, So I agree. I think there's something there. It's just, again, you're making bets. That's what these are.
100%.
Is it some of these guys, that's the best they are, and they actually might go down a notch. They just happen, everyone has different levels of production. You hope to get them here, and then they do that. But sometimes that was the best they got, and they're going to come down a notch. So that's what you bet on in this game. These are stocks, and you bet on them. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You going to wrap this up now, Frank?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who grew with us, watched the show, bringing Butchie along. Thank you to Butchie for joining forces in December.
It was fun.
This has been an absolute blast talking with you every day, and I'm hoping we get to continue this next year. And so thanks to everyone who joined us in the chat on YouTube every day, asked us questions, keep watching, hit that like, subscribe. It helps us with the algorithm. And man, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm so grateful and appreciative of the opportunity to do this every single day and to do it with you and to talk hockey. So thanks to Alex Allard and Jared McCauley, our production staff all year. It's been a ton of fun doing this.
No, and I thank you for the opportunity. It really has. I love how it frames my day. I get up in the morning, I go to the gym, on my notes on my phone, I find the birthdays, I find the fun little stats, I look at your rundown. When's it going to be in? Hurry up, Frank. It's 9:00. Get the rundown in. But I love how it's produced. Yeah, it's a great job. It looks good. The quality and the discussion, the level of discussion, and obviously it's great to have a place to use our institutional knowledge. We're so lucky. We know so much. We can't use it all. It's part of being a journalist, but the information, which enables you to give informed opinions without exposing certainly people who give us great content. And so it's like I said, we're very well informed. We just are. We've been around and we accumulate friends and they talk to us. And to share it with our audience and give them really good meat and potatoes hockey knowledge. Not only that, Frank, it's the passion, how much we love the game, and our viewers
sure.
love the game. And that's what I love being doing shows like this where the audience is 100% in. I'd rather do a show like this than do a show with 10 million people where only 5% of the people are all the way in. I like these small, intimate type of shows where every viewer is locked in. So again, thank you for the great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, like, it's so refreshing to see a lot of the same people in the chat every day. You get to know, I don't know who these people are in real life, but I get to know their handle or their username. And I see that guy or this gal they're in here every day. They're watching, they're part of, you build a community. And that's really what it's all about as we continue to grow this. So thanks to everyone. Frankly Hockey, year 1 in the books, amazingly enough.
All right. And we end this year with Luke Shen to Vancouver. Vancouver just tweeted it out. So yep. Luke Shen, another year for Luke.
49 on our board. So 49 is gone.
All right. Okay, so that'll do it. Follow along, obviously, Frank on X throughout the day, the next couple of days. And I'll be there as well, just being stupid, tweeting pictures of apple pies at McDonald's, which were unbelievable yesterday. I'm going to get another one today on my way to ESPN. Have you tried them yet, Frank?
No, but I was going to say to you, 2 trips to McDonald's in like 3 days. That's scandalous for someone who works out as much as you do.
Well, the road trip to Buffalo, when I'm on the road, I eat like crap because I tell my kids, McDonald's becomes health food if it keeps you awake and keeps you alive. That's the ultimate health food. Because when I get tired, a double cheeseburger and medium fry and a Coke, nothing gives me more adrenaline than that in life. But I only do it when I need to stay awake. But yeah,
there you go.
You're right. I thought about, but the apple pie, I had to try it. I heard the rumors, I heard the talk, and it was everything I'd hoped for and more.
There you go.
All right, we're done. For Frank, I'm Bucci, and you, the viewer, we thank you so much. We hope to see you here again in just a couple of months. Peace out. Have a great summer. Be healthy. Be happy.